The following content has been generated with artificial intelligence under minimal human supervision. The data presented may contain errors or inaccuracies. The opinions expressed in this content do not necessarily reflect the vision, position, or values of DigiAll. We recommend verifying critical information with additional sources before making decisions based on this content.
Welcome to DigiAll Tech News. Today is Friday, June 26th, 2026. I'm Kylie Brooks, and this is where technology becomes clear and engaging. OpenAI says Codex has become its default work interface, with agentic tasks now reaching far beyond engineering. Micron's huge AI memory quarter gave investors a reason to buy back into the chip supply chain. Samsung is reportedly preparing a $648 billion South Korea investment pledge tied to chips, AI data centers, batteries, and displays. Big Tech's AI build-out is facing a sharper question from Wall Street. Who pays for all this capacity? General Intuition raised $320 million on a bet that video game data can train agents for the real world. Let's start with OpenAI because this is less about a new feature and more about a new shape of work. OpenAI's economic research team says Codex now accounts for 99.8% of weekly output tokens inside the company, and the average worker directs more than 85% of their tokens to Codex. Engineering got there first, but by around April, legal, finance, and recruiting were also treating it as the default tool. The adoption numbers outside core development are striking too. Non-developer individual users are up 137 times since August 2025, while organizational non-developer users are up 189 times. That matters because agentic AI is moving from short chatbot exchanges into delegated work that can run for long stretches. By May, more than 80% of sampled individual users had made at least one Codex request, estimated to represent more than 30 minutes of human effort, and the heaviest internal users were running over 60 hours of agent time per day across parallel agents. My big question is not whether this changes workflows. It already is. It's how companies measure quality, accountability, and skill when a finance analyst, recruiter, or lawyer can suddenly ask an agent to code, transform data, or automate a process that used to sit outside their role. Now to the market mood swing around AI chips. Micron reported a third quarter that helped reverse a bruising two-day sell-off in AI-linked stocks, with revenue up 346% year-over-year, and reported profit of $28.2 billion, nearly 15 times the year-ago figure. The detail investors grabbed onto was demand for high-bandwidth memory, the specialized memory used to train and run AI models. Micron said customers had committed $22 billion to secure future supplies, and its stock jumped more than 16% in pre-market trading on Thursday. The rebound was broader too. The Nasdaq, the S&P 500, Japan's Nikkei, and Korea's Kospi all moved higher after the sell-off. Here's the tension. This looks like real demand for scarce components, not just AI branding. But it also shows how tightly market sentiment is tied to the belief that AI infrastructure spending will keep converting into revenue quickly. When supply is short, commitments can look incredibly strong. The harder test is whether that demand stays durable once capacity catches up. Samsung's reported plan is industrial policy at AI scale. A Mail business newspaper report says Samsung Group is preparing to announce a 1,000 trillion won investment pledge in South Korea over 10 years, equal to about $648 billion. The spending would target chips, AI data centers, batteries, and displays, with a possible 300 trillion won for new chip factories in the Southwest. The politics are just as important as the technology here. President Lee Jae-myung has been pushing 5 regional hubs and wants more high-value facilities outside the Greater Seoul area, where concentration has fed concerns about property prices and inequality. South Korea already dominates high-end memory production for AI data centers, so the strategic logic is clear. But the execution question is tough. Cutting-edge fabs need specialized workers, supply chains, and infrastructure. If those pieces do not come with the pledge, a regional chip push risks creating construction and real estate momentum without the deeper tech ecosystem the country is trying to build. The bigger issue behind this week's tech sell-off is simple. AI infrastructure spending is enormous, and the demand side is still messy. The Nasdaq Composite slipped nearly 3%, while Goldman Sachs estimates tech companies will spend $7.6 trillion through 2031 building thousands of new data centers. Hyperscalers like Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, and Oracle are increasingly watched for how much debt they may use to fund that build-out. At the same time, consumer and business adoption does not automatically mean paid demand. Pew Research found 40% of adults see AI as a negative force over the next 2 decades, compared with 16% who see it as positive. And a May Gartner study found that businesses replacing staff with AI agents often fail to generate ROI. In practical terms, this is the Payback test. Can massive spending on compute become services people and companies will reliably pay for, at prices high enough to justify the build-out? The dot-com analogy is useful only up to a point. Some companies may build lasting advantages, while others may discover that usage is not the same thing as profitable demand. Finally, General Intuition is one of the more interesting bets in the world model race. The startup raised $320 million in a round led by Khosla Ventures, reaching a $2.3 billion valuation and bringing disclosed funding to $454 million. Its pitch starts with data, hundreds of millions of hours of gameplay footage from Metal, paired with action labels that record exact button presses and timing. That is different from just watching video, because the model can learn what an action caused, what changed in the environment, and what belonged to the player. The company showed an agent playing Fortnite-like games for 100 hours straight, and the same model powering a quadrupedal robot that explored an office after 8 minutes of fine-tuning on real-world street data from a single camera. That is impressive, but the real story is the trade-off. Gameplay is a scalable training source for spatial reasoning, physics, and planning. Yet the physical world is less forgiving than a simulated gym where the rules are clean. General Intuition wants to provide the foundation through an API, not build the end products itself, and most of the new money is going into CoreWeave compute for the next model. The question now is whether game-trained intuition can generalize when robots, drones, driving simulations, or digital twins meet all the messiness of real environments. Today's through line is that AI is no longer just a software story. It is changing how work is organized, how memory chips are priced, where countries place factories, how investors judge trillion-dollar build-outs, and how startups search for training data that can move from screens into the physical world. Thank you for staying informed with DigiAll Tech News. We'll be back with more updates as they develop.